What is going on, guys? Got some gameplay here from my Ultimate Cup run. Playing Wargreymon X over on the left. Starting off pretty strong. My opponent is going to play is playing Blue Flare, which is a really cool deck for the Set 10/EX3 format. I'm just gonna start off with a pretty standard Agumon plus Cool Boy. He's actually playing Hyaramon, which I thought was a really interesting egg. Into Gaussmon, into the Blazing Memory Boost, pretty much got the perfect line there. So he's going to be able to play a Kiriha and get two Blue Flare cards. He was actually playing the Magnamon X, as we saw, which is a pretty interesting package that I think is really good versus certain decks. So I'm just going to promote and then go into Agumon X for 0. That lets me trigger the Cool Boy to gain a memory and draw a card, and then Agumon X will reveal the top 3. I get to choose amongst those to pick a Greymon to the hand. So we see the Wargreymon X, Metal Greymon X, as well as the Alterius mode. I'm just going to take the Alterius mode to hand amongst those. Also get to search an X antibody if there is one revealed, but in that scenario. And then just going to go into the Greymon X, swinging security for 7,000, hitting another Blazing Memory Boost, which is super important, unfortunate. And is going to boost my opponent up to 1 billion memory next turn, just going to play a tie. I was aware that Metal Greymon can definitely come down here, but I promoted with the intention of losing my stack. I don't really care if this one survives. I really just wanted the search and plus off the Cool Boy as well as the Agumon X. So Gaussmon is going to swing into security. Unfortunately for my opponent, not going to die because he does have that on deletion to play a Blue Flare suspended from your hand on deletion. So you can always bring out like a Male Birdramon or something like a Greymon or Decardramon. So really good utility card. But since he didn't die, we're just going to see the Blazing Memory Boost pop, gaining 4 memory back, and then playing Metal Greymon for a cost of 3, being able to gain the Rush keyword upon play. And then going to go into the Decker Greymon for a cost of 2. Decker Greymon then lets you stick something underneath it, so he's going to stick Decker Greymon underneath it, allowing him to freeze any Digimon I have on field. He can then use it to freeze my Greymon X antibody, but I think he is actually going to just swing into that anyways. Yep, so we're just going to see Decker Greymon into the X antibody, and then just playing the 3rd copy of Blazing Memory Boost, once again revealing top 6 and grabbing a couple of cards there. We see the Kiriha played, as well as the Gaussmon and Male Bird added to hand. Kiriha times 2 doesn't really matter too much. To me, you really just need one, so it's not like Taiki or anything where you get the on play as well. So we're just going to promote, start building up a stack. Agu into Agu X into starter deck Greymon, pretty much the perfect lineup to go along with the tie. Also got the Greymon X antibody on top of that, just to cycle some more, as well as get the bounce protection. Blue Flare does play, typically plays stuff like Plasma Decardra Launcher or Kokaitis Spread, so definitely don't want to run into those and get caught with my pants down basically in security. So then we're just going to pass it over to the opponent with the Alterius mode. Gaussmon swings and does die on this swing, allowing our opponent to play out one of the Blue Flares. So Decardramon on play does draw 1. I don't control any Digimon, so he's not going to draw any additional cards. But then Decker Greymon is just going to swing at security for 10,000. Does die to the Omnimon, but of course Armor Purge being such a strong effect allows him to effectively save the stack there. So Decker Greymon really putting in that work. Probably the scariest card I think in Blue Flare. Just being able to freeze anything is really crazy. The second copy of Decardramon is just going to hit the board, drawing a card, passing turn. I'm going to go Alterius mode for 0 since he can evolve on top of a Metal Gray, popping the Decardramon that was just played since I've got a Tamer, and then sticking an X antibody underneath there for a cost of 0, swinging into the security here, and then evolving into the Wargreymon X, checking a total of 3 cards. And then we're going to gain 1 memory for each of those cards, going back up to 2. And then deleting something at the end of the battle, but it's not going to matter because I'm going to blitz into Omni. Omni goes into Omni X. Our opponent has 1 security left. You know the drill. Omni X will then trash that security card and then close out the game by himself. So crazy combos there for the first game. Game number 2, our Blue Flare friend is going to make me start. Not the worst opening, so I'm just going to go Agumon into the red memory boost. Definitely want something like a tie and Cool Boy at some point here, but I can't complain too much. Got a search off the boost. So Gaussmon is going to be evolved, and then Greymon is just going to be played. for 4, revealing top 4, adding 2 blue flare cards, I do believe. So grabbing the Kiriha plus the Metal Greymon. Man, I'm going to show you which Greymon line is going to be the best. Let me know down in the comments, guys. I was actually having a discussion with one of my friends, like which one's aesthetically more pleasing, the blue Greymon line or the red Greymon line. And you know me, I'm a red Andy, so I'm definitely a fan of the OG line, as well as the X-Antibody lines, but I digress. Gaussmon's going to come out swinging into another tie there. So unfortunately for my friend here, Gaussmon is just not dying whatsoever. Mailbird is just going to play down for a cost of 5, playing the Kiriha for free. And at this point I was thinking, well, if my opponent has a Metal Greymon, he could still be able to like check 3 with the Digimon he has on field, and then he wouldn't be able to close out the game, I don't think, unless he had something like a Kumamon in hand, like a hybrid as well. But I'm going to promote anyways, just to, at the risk of losing a ton of security. I'm going to go ahead and go X-Antibody and then Alterius mode for 3, and then going to go ahead and pop one of the Digimon here. So going to be able to pop either the Metal Grey or the Millbird. Don't really care about the Gaussmon too much, but I think I'm going to swing over it at some point. And then just going to go over that with the Metal Greymon X Antibody for a cost of 0. I think I was trying to dig for the Wargreymon X or the X Antibody, one of the 2 pieces. And that's kind of the thing with this deck, is that in order to do your full combo, you need like the whole line, lots of key pieces. So I didn't actually have either, or maybe I was just missing one in this scenario. So I'm going to swing Metal Greymon into security. He does still check 4 because he's got the Greymon plus tie plus his own effect, but don't have the end of battle that like Wargreymon X has. Don't gain the memory, and in fact I'm going to pass turn into a Hammer Spark. My opponent will be able to just start his turn back to 3 with the Kiriha, but my Metal Grey is sitting at 11,000, so I'm at least fairly confident it's not going to die by battle. But Gaussmon is going to swing into security, hitting an Agu, finally dying, doing it what he is supposed to do, and then playing the Decadramon out on play. Decadramon will draw 1 for his effect, and then another additional card since I have 1 card on field, 1 Digimon on field. And then there is the package that I needed the previous turn. Getting the Wargrey X plus the X Antibody out is really important, really strong. So next turn I'm in a good position. Assuming I can attack, and assuming that Decker Greymon is a fair card, which it's a pretty ridiculous card. So we're going to see Metal Grey Digicrossed for 3, checking 2 cards, hitting into security, not dying to either, which is really unfortunate, but I guess he had the Decadramon on field anyway. So we are going to go ahead and evolve Decadramon into the Decker Grey for a cost of 4 on top of the level 4 here, and then effect, you get to put a blue flare underneath it, but since it's got Decadramon anyways, he can just freeze the Metal Greymon, regardless of the fact that I have 1,000 sources. So that's just really, really unfortunate, and without being able to attack, there's not really anything I can do, so I'm just going to go ahead and scoop it up since my opponent's got lethal on board for the next turn. So then for the game 3 here, I'm going to make our opponent start. We're going to see the Upamon Digivolve into the Vmon, jamming Vmon, a pretty interesting tech there. And then just play a Blazing Memory Boost. Seem to have that pretty much every game. Fortunately for us, no Kiriha, but we are going to see him grab the +2 here. Conversely, I'm going to start with 5, quite a bit of memory to give me, but I'm just going to go Agumon into Agu X, and then Greymon, drawing a bunch of cards, tie for 4, and then putting the opponent to 1. So definitely a strong start by me as well. Vmon is going to swing into security, hitting the Agumon. Of course, jamming is going to prevent any deletion by battle from security Digimon. But Vmon is a little bit annoying because the fact that he doesn't die means I have to like either let my opponent constantly check like multiple security cards with that card, or I just like let it live. So I was thinking here for a little bit, well, do I risk like my stack or anything? But if I've got bounce protection, really the only thing he can do is go like Digicross into a Metal Greymon and then go Decadramon, which I think he has 4 or 5 cards. Yeah, it's 5 cards in his hand at this point. So I just deem that to be a little bit basically like unlikely, right? So I was like in that kind of thought process here. So I'm actually just going to go into the red memory boost here, revealing 4, and then grabbing the Wargreymon X, just leaving the Vmon and Mailbird on field, and just bide my time and wait a little bit in the back, grabbing the Metal Greymon from the second copy of Red Memory Boost. I think in any other scenario, I probably would have moved out and started like attacking his stuff maybe, but I had double memory boost, so I don't think there's a reason to not just use those and play it a little bit safe. We are going to lose another security to the Vmon, which is definitely unfortunate, but it is going to be a Cool Boy. So Cool Boy grabbing us the X antibody plus the Greymon X is really huge, because now I have the potential to go to effectively 8 memory next turn. Mailbird is going to swing into the Wargrey X, but again, my opponent is not going to have lethal, and just him hitting into my security will provide me with some resources that I will use to potentially close out the game next turn. We'll see. But we are going to be hit with the 1 of Ice Wall, and then just another copy of Mailbird, putting me to 3. Ice Wall is in effect, so of course if I do swing, I lose the 2 memory. But at this point, I don't really care. Like, if you guys can see my field, I've got enough memory to work with. Losing 2 memory is not going to be the biggest deal, especially because I'm going to evolve Greymon X for 0, gaining the memory off Cool Boy, going on up to 4. Metal Greymon for 3 is going to go down to 1, and then we're going to go back up to 3 with the delay effect of the red memory boost. Thinking a little bit here about whether the order matters or not, but I don't think it will too much. I'll be able to clear his board potentially because I've got piercing on the Metal Gray, which is really good. I really like that effect. Like, that Metal Gray is so fantastic. I'm going to go into the X Antibody Metal Gray, of course, gaining the 3000 sec attack +1. Since we've got the Metal Greymon underneath, then sticking the X Antibody option card underneath our stack, popping the red memory boost, because why not? It's basically the last turn anyways. I'm going to go War Greymon, gaining another sec attack +1 on top of that on the 1 evolve. So I'm currently +4 sec attack, checking 5, losing to memory from the Ice Wall, and then swinging into the Vmon with the piercing, and then going into War Greymon X off the X antibody, and then I'm just going to gain a memory off of every single loss of my opponent's security. Plasma Decker Monster Launcher will return one of my Digimon to the hand, but of course, since I've got the protection from Greymon X, I'll be able to just detach to the same level here, and I'm debating which ones I want to detach, but I'm just going to get rid of the Agumons here because they're not doing anything for me in that scenario. And then my opponent was asking about like the sources a little bit here, but we are actually just going to check 5, and then gaining that last memory, end of attack, I'll be able to delete the male Birdmon, putting my opponent down to 0 monsters on field and me with 4 memory through an Ice Wall, by the way, which is pretty ridiculous. But of course, granted, I did have a really good setup and lots of memory boosts to work with as well. So you could definitely say that this hand was in my favor. I'm thinking about the ways I could close out the game. We saw the Omnimon and the X Antibody combo. I don't think I had it at this point. So I was trying to dig into an Omnimon to be able to close out the game. Because just 1 Blitz would be able to work since my opponent is at 0 security. Basically, I just need like 1 more attack. Not playing a Gunimon in this list, so wouldn't be able to do that. I think I did have the Agumon, BT5 Agumon in my hand at this point. So I was debating like, well, I have a little bit of memory to work with. Let's see if I can hit that off the top deck. Don't actually reveal that off the top 3, which is unfortunate, and I didn't want to play into having 2 or more Digimon, because if my opponent drops a Metal Gray, he'll be able to close out the game because he has 1 swing of the Gaussmon, and then the Greymon will allow him to unsuspend since I have 2 or more Digimon. So I was very worried like I would just lose the game, but I also took the chance because if I did hit Omnimon off of the Agumon, I would just win the game outright. So those were kind of the things I was weighing in my head. But regardless, my opponent didn't actually have it. He's going to swing the Gaussmon, but he was definitely had a terrible hand, double Decker Gray, double Kiriha, really unfortunate stuff. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed that back and forth with this one. Blue Flare, really strong deck for the meta, I think, and War Greymon X, just an absolute powerhouse, assuming it draws correctly, like, right, that's the same thing with any 1-stack deck, but I digress. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.